Welcome to Daily Life Connection. Thank you for joining me again today as together we explore who God is and what He's like. In Mark, there's a wonderful story in chapter 12. The religious crowd is trying to trap Jesus again, get him to say something that would get him in trouble with the political people of the day or with the religious leaders of the day. And they ask him, is it lawful to give tribute to the emperor? And they are thinking, well, if he says, yes, it is, then that goes against the religious rules of the day. And if he says no, then it would go against the political rules of the day, the legal rules of the day. But Jesus says this. He says, whose image is on this thing? And they said, Caesar's. And he said, well, then give to Caesar what's Caesar's, and give to God what is God's. I want to talk a little bit today about the God who doesn't take, but the God who gives. You see, it's interesting that Caesar, for example, set up all these taxes. He took those taxes from people, just like our governments do today, because if it was voluntary, I don't think they'd get near as much money out of us, would they? When it's law, it comes out of our paychecks and goes to our government. And thankfully, we have a government that we have so many blessings like Medicare and social assistance when it's needed and protection. We live in such a blessed country, and much of it's because the government takes the taxes, and they do good things with it, but sometimes they do foolish things with it too. But they're takers. God doesn't operate that way. God's kingdom isn't like that. You remember, even in the matter of giving money, over in Corinthians, it says, as you purpose in your heart, give. Give. God loves a cheerful giver. God does not take. God receives from us love gifts, and He receives from us anything we want to give Him, and is delighted with it, and rejoices over what we give Him. But He's not going to be a taker. We don't need to fear that if we start to follow God, and we give our lives to Him, whatever we call it, that He's going to take everything. Sometimes in the church there was kind of a mindset that, don't let God know you've got that really nice thing because He'll take it. He'll make you give it up. That's not our God. He's not a God who goes around robbing people. He gave us everything for our enjoyment, it tells us in Timothy. He gave us the earth. He gave Adam and Eve, He gave humanity everything for their good and for their enjoyment, and said, you can be stewards of it. He does not take that back from us. He is not a taker. Indeed, He's a giver, but He is a receiver of gifts. But that's a whole different ball of wax, isn't it? Someone who takes from you and someone who is delighted to receive gifts from you. The difference is between legal contract and relationship. In our families, we receive birthday gifts and Christmas presents, and we're delighted for that because they are gifts that are given out of love, and we receive them with thanksgiving, and that's a good thing. But we give because we love people. We give because we want to show them our appreciation and our value that they are to us. That's why we give to God, because we want to let Him know we value Him, we appreciate Him, we love Him, we're in relationship with Him. So everything that comes to God comes out of our relationship, not out of a contract that says, well, if you're going to follow me, then you've got to do this and you've got to do that. That's not the God we have. In the Old Testament, we look at all these regulations, but it's interesting that several times prophets also said, God did not desire those sacrifices. He didn't demand them. And so many times they're good for us to give, but it wasn't that God was demanding and taking. He was showing us opportunity, because as we give, it does something positive to us too, doesn't it? If we hoard everything to ourselves, there is always a sense of uneasiness about that, a sense of this isn't really right. There's not a contentment with it. But when we give, There is a joy and a contentment, especially when we give to someone we love. Well, that's our God. He's not a taker. He's a giver. So I just want to remind us of that today as we come before him. We give him praise. We give him our lives. We give him our day. We give him, whatever is in our heart to give. And he receives it with thanksgiving and joy and love. But he never demands it of us. He never takes it from us. That's the kind of God we serve. That's good news, isn't it? Let's think about that today. We'll talk again tomorrow.